Fiona, good afternoon to you. I kind of thought something like this might come along somehow. I don't know whether it's by accident or whatever. I'm sure those behind Digital ID would say, well, we haven't fully built it yet, so we don't know. What's your reaction to this?
Well, what people don't know is that you can already change the sex marker on your passport, say from male to female, just by sending a letter. And the Passport Office appear not to know how many people have done that. It's been going on for years. It could be 50,000. It could even be 100,000. They don't know. So we already have a problem that government data that should be reliable and should be honest can't be relied on. And so for the government to put that into a system where anyone can produce an official document that says, I'm female, even though he's clearly male, we think that's a terrible idea. And this is not people who've been supervised and got themselves a certificate, a small number with a controlled medical process. This is just a letter on demand. So we're saying, do not do this, because anybody can have one document that says they're male, another one that says they're female. It just seems crazy. It's almost hard to believe it's happening, but it is happening. It is happening.
What is the, has there been any kind of official response to this at the moment? Because we've had a Supreme Court hearing, which is relevant to this conversation, and a conclusion. What are those in power, those that are actually pulling the levers, telling us?
Well, we've been telling them about this for the last 18 months, actually. We've been concerned, even before they started talking about digital ID, because they already have systems where you can kind of verify your identity through a government-approved app. So we've been flagging this, and they don't want to know whether it's too difficult or too expensive or I don't know what, but it is a known problem in government, and it's just being ignored as far as we can tell. But if it becomes digital ID, then it really can't be ignored. Like we said, a sex offender can change their name and change their sex, and then no one can track down who they really are. It's dangerous.
Yeah, and this is... I mean, this even goes beyond the usual gender debate that we might have, Fiona, or you and I and you and others would have on this, because there's obvious... areas of abuse for this, whether it's about choosing your gender or choosing a life of crime.
Yes, and the problem we have here is that the Passport Office have not kept any records. So they don't even know how many people, who they are. And so if people can go around, for example, using a QR code to get themselves into the female changing room at a gym, there will be nothing to stop them using a falsified passport just to say that they're female for that purpose, even if in all the other parts of their life they're male. So it's just massively open to abuse.
So we wait and see what the next step of this is. I mean, the fact that I mentioned the Supreme Court ruling, that would surely be at play in this discussion.
Yeah, I mean, the Supreme Court has said, a lot of the time you shouldn't discriminate against people based on their sex or their age or anything else. But we have laws that say when you can, and in some cases you must, in order to protect them. And women are more vulnerable to male violence than men are. We know why we sometimes need single-sex spaces. So for the government to let people obtain what looks like an official government-backed ID with the wrong sex marker on it seems to run counter to everything the Supreme Court said about why sometimes sex matters.
Yes, as your campaign says. I mean, there it is. Absolutely bang on. Listen, Fiona, thank you. We will speak again on this. I know it's a sort of developing story with the technology that is, we are still awaiting to see where it goes and how it's implemented. But that is the potential problem, one of many potential problems with this. Fiona McAnina, who is Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters. Comments coming in from you. Rob says, afternoon, Ian, I'm surprised Starmer hasn't blamed Nigel Farage for this Chinese spy case collapse. He blames him for everything else. I mean, he really does live rent-free, doesn't he, in Starmer's head? Yeah, there's a lot of things that are... What do we do? We don't know what our policy is on this, he says around the cabinet table. And somebody goes, well, let's just blame Nigel, shall we? Really? Can we do that? Blame Nigel? Well, we're talking about the weather here. We've got bad weather coming for the winter. Yes, Nigel's fault. One in from Alison, South Wales. It seems that the police think the government is in charge of our streets and the government think the police are in charge. Shame we can't sack them all and take charge ourselves, especially as both entities are paid for us and they're supposed to take care of us. Also, have we ever... We've had at least one ISIS flag on our streets, and it's been seen and felt. If you let one, you end up with a lot. It's just bizarre, isn't it? That you would be, you know, in a world where you've got to be careful what you say. I mean, yeah, we do have free speech, but we just have we're trying to circumnavigate a new kind of era and world. I'm confident with the right government we'll get through it. And we can go back to a little bit of normality and stop playing silly games with what somebody might have said on social media. I understand it, if it's threats to kill and that kind of stuff. It's right and proper that it's dealt with. You know, it happened with Nigel Farage recently, where somebody said on a TikTok video, bang, 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 or pop, 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 whatever it was, and it ended up in the Crown Court at Southwark. Yes, you do investigate that. That's not a bloke just saying hurty words. That's a genuine threat to someone's life. So I get it. There is a hybrid here of, rights and wrongs and responsibilities. I think most people understand that. But we do also live in a world where we've seen some real howlers of people getting nicked and nabbed or called into question or sacked and fired because of something they happen to have said on social media, which, by the way, or in a WhatsApp group, which, by the way, hasn't even been all that bad sometimes. I'm not talking about the police stuff that we are all familiar with, Charing Cross, etc. I'm just talking about stuff that could not have possibly harmed anyone in any form, demonstrably innocuous. Might not be everyone's cup of tea, it might be egregious to some people, but innocuous. And yet we've seen people act. But you can simultaneously walk around the street with an ISIS flag. An ISIS flag. I mean, that's another level, right? And you can shout anti-Israeli or anti-Jewish chants. When people use the word Zion, I mean, there's your giveaway, isn't it? When you get into the Zionist card, when you're playing that card. Because all people mean, what was the thing about Zion's, Zis, I think. Did you call them Zis in that video? Zios or something? Zios. Bury them, essentially, kill them. And what these people mean when they use this sort of word Zionist, they just mean Jews. That's all they mean, by the way. They'll kind of pretend they're talking about a sort of super Jew, a very special kind of Jew, a certain, we're only talking about the horrible Jews. Except that, really? No, you're talking about Jews, mate. That's all it is.